right? Any questions on that? I've kind of gone into detail. I don't, you know, this is all speculative at the end of the day. TRVL had some really impressive buy-ups yesterday. That being said, you know, we found resistance into previous levels, previous daily levels. See that? There's a daily level there. Found resistance, and that's, you know, that's normal. And what's with that buy up, you know, you could almost argue that we've now tested that outer trend line again. Yeah, and so obviously that was all the way up to 5.5 was going to be some kind of resistance. We've created a new daily level here as of yesterday. So what we have right now, 2 already tapped daily levels and a fresh one at the same level. So with this price action, we are actually creating quite strong support, but in the same spirit, we're also potentially creating resistance as well. Yeah. So what's happening now is we are creating there's a tightening range forming here. Okay, you can clearly see that the daily levels are getting closer, and here the daily levels are getting closer. So I don't know how far this is going to go down, but you know, we could be in a situation where we form another daily level. You know, we could be forming some kind of tightening range here, and before we get some kind of movement with the price, no one really knows what's going to happen. I think the same as ever, for the price to go up, we need to break this trend line, this outer trend line. We've been in this kind of down move since we put in that high on the 26th of March. We need to break that trend line. Okay, we break that trend line, and if we can flip this fib into support, then we will probably push up quite quickly to 7.2, 7.6 cents. Okay, that's basically where we're at now. Nothing really else to add. Could the price go down? Of course it could. Yeah, so I'm not suggesting that it will only go up. Of course the price can always go down. It can go up, it can go down. And so naturally, I've got this absolute outer lower trend line that I think, in the context of what we're seeing, should offer some good support. There is confluence with this lower daily level too, but you still have the same problem. If you lose levels, you see, this is the thing, you lose levels, they become resistant. So now if we were to suddenly go down, yeah, you find support, but then guess what, you're back into resistance. Okay, and what you really want to do is you want to break resistance and then find support for continuation. Yeah, that's what you want to do. I can't really say what's, I mean, like, of course I'm bullish, and I think this is a really great opportunity to buy at discount prices, but you know, this is going to take a little bit of time to play out, and I think the best strategy, as I've always said, is continued scaling in, continued dollar cost averaging in, and eventually what will happen is the price will go up. Eventually what will happen, the price will go up. Why? Because, you know, we are in a Bitcoin bull market. Like, I think people forget that. I think maybe some people were in the bear market for too long and they don't realize there's a difference between a bull market and bear market. And as I've said before, I do think the price is coining up. Maybe I had a good idea, but maybe it didn't play out. Whether it was some kind of Adam and Eve, whether it was some kind of Wyckoff, I still think there was some kind of Wyckoff accumulation. Maybe the problem is that because I identified it, it changed, you know, and that's the problem you get with kind of telling people what is happening, that you can almost prejudice the idea because people see this and then and it actually changes what happens, I don't know. But what I am seeing is the downward momentum coming to an end. Yeah, so whether it's ended or not is speculative. We've got the 3-day, this is the 3-day averages. You've got the 50 average. Is that the 50? That's the 50. You see now the 50 average is clearly in the upward trajectory. The price is underneath the 50 average. You can see that the trend has changed or changing. Okay, and the momentum has changed or changing. What's that one? That's the 200. So before I talked about the golden cross, and nothing's changed with regards to that. In fact, now is a really good opportunity to buy because you're basically buying above this 200 moving average underneath the 50, which is in an upward direction. That's the 3-day chart. If you look at the daily chart, look at where we are. We're at the 200 simple moving average. So you're basically right now, you're accumulating or buying at the average price for the last 200 days. I mean, you couldn't really ask for a fairer entry into TRVL, the 200 moving average. It's heading up. Of course, this 50-day is problematic because you can see it's heading down. Okay, and so we have to see what happens. Do the bulls turn up? Because we don't want a death cross. We had a golden cross here, which was lovely, and since that golden cross, we had a really good price expansion. I'm not sure we want to see a death cross. I can't tell you if it's going to happen yet or not. If I go back 50 bars, yeah, we're starting to lose these high numbers now on the last 50 days. See the 50, the reason why it's kind of shaped, its trajectory is really steep to the downside, is because the last 50 days it was the highs. It was 51 days ago. Ali fan, hello. Yeah, and now we're losing these high closes, and so it all depends now on the price closing now. So really what needs to happen is the price needs to start closing above the 50-day moving average, and then that will kind of slowly taper off. And as long as the price can hold above the 50 average, eventually what you'll see this go down and it will kind of roll back up. Yeah, as long as the price can stay up. Yeah, and actually you won't get a death cross. So we're not there yet. I mean, I don't want to say that there's going to be a death cross because we're really quite far away from it. But let's just assume the trajectory was to continue and the price was to stay where it was. You could possibly be seeing it by the end of the month. And so naturally what I'm thinking is the price needs to start getting up before the end of the month. And then hopefully then this could actually start to turn to go back up. And that's kind of what we want to see. We kind of want to avoid a death cross if possible. If we see a death cross, then we just have to accept it. And then we have to strategize for the next kind of plan, for the next plan. Again, I just think what's happening now is that higher time frame momentum is flattening out. And so while I hope that this was the change that would take us to the stratosphere, I didn't really want us to lose the 50 moving average, to be honest with you. I did say that in the past. We should really hold for this trend to start trending and trending and trending. You really need one of these higher time frame moving averages to support the price. The price just needs to bounce and bounce and just keep on holding for the momentum to shift, to continue going to the upside. Yeah, short of seeing that kind of experience, it's possible that what's happening is that this overall move was so down that we still needed to turn some higher time frame moving averages. So just looking at the weekly time frame, just messing around now. This is the 50 week moving average. You see now it's quite flat, and we're coming down potentially to test it. It's at about 41 cents, sorry, 4.1 cents at the moment. Now if we were to kind of put that to 100 weeks, what would that look like? See, we're at the 100 week now, you see that? So we're basically buying now at the 100, the last 100 weeks, you're buying at the average last 100 weeks. It's a really fair price for most people. And if you take that up to the 120 weeks, yeah, look at the price, look at the moving average. You see, it's actually still quite down. The momentum is still quite down. You see that? And this is the problem. This is something that people don't necessarily contemplate, is that you can't ignore momentum. So this is now look at this. What is this? This is the 125 week moving average, and look, it looks like the price has just come in to find resistance and it's come off it. Yeah, so you might not be able to see it, but because we've been in a downtrend, you've got these higher time frame moving averages that may be invisible because people aren't looking at them, and we still need to turn that trend. And so this price action is actually healthy. Go up, go up. We're trying to change the trend, and what you want to see now is to start changing the trend, start making higher highs, higher lows. So we're not there yet, and so actually we're looking to change the trend. We're not there yet. The minute we put in a higher high on the weekly, we could put in a higher low, and we could start changing the trend to the upside. And so we still have, for a lot of people who haven't entered, it's still a really good opportunity to come in at really good prices. And what I'm seeing is the potential of an off the charts explosion, an explosion that's going to really shake people, because they won't realize, they won't expect it. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. You often get it with these tokens that are off the radar. They've just been building in the bear market. They've got the product now, it's all working, and they're building their network. They're starting to form partnerships. They're still off the radar, and eventually what happens is you get the whole of crypto get behind these projects, and then you suddenly see extremely high prices very quickly, mainly because what happens is that suddenly everyone starts buying at exactly the same time. You get that during alt season where everyone is just buying. Yeah, now hopefully we'll see 2 alt seasons again, and maybe we're going to see one quite soon, and then the next one probably will happen sometime in the spring next year, similar to before. I wouldn't be looking for anything too different from before. I just think this is quite a good accumulation zone, and if people, you don't need to go all in, you can just dollar cost averaging, and this is what we're doing. We're all dollar cost averaging in, building our portfolios, building our positions. You do it when the price pulls back, and whereas before we were in a bear market, it was hard to do because the price just kept on dropping. Now it's a lot easier to do because now we're in the bull market. So this is the pullback for continuation. That's what we're all kind of on track for. And as you can see, this weekly 125 weekly moving average, I mean, I can change that number if you want. Let's see how far we can go. 129. Look, 129. It's just like like a downward. That has to change. We have to change this, and the way to change this is going up, because now then you have higher closes, and then the average, these moving averages now then they start to turn. Okay, but if you look for the last 129 weeks, the average price was actually higher than where we are now. You're getting cheaper than the average price for the last 129 weeks. The average price was thereabouts 8 cents. You're getting it cheaper in the last 129 weeks. It's a really good place to accumulate. Okay, so that's basically TRVL. it was really interesting because on the Dtravel page, there's been this kind of ongoing conversation. Let me have a look at it. This guy, he basically what happened was that he's a super host, and Dtravel, not Dtravel, God, what am I talking about? He's a super host, and Airbnb shut his account down. Yeah, look, 4.95 reviews, shut his account down. Airbnb is an evil monopoly. let's don't ever think differently. Yeah, and they have control of the whole market. They have a lot of money. They have a really large network, and this is their behavior. This guy has been a super host for multiple years, and he was discriminated for his tweets on his tweets, basically. Airbnb threw me out of their community and cancelled all of my future guests because they deemed me as racist based on my account here on X. I even had a guest coming this weekend. I feel terrible that all these people have to find new lodgings last minute because they want to be a woke company. I was a super host. I had 200 plus reviews and had amazing reviews from people of all ethnicities. Never once did I discriminate against any guest. They say because of my rants about Black American females, I was discriminating. On the contrary, all I did was to have manually approve guests to make sure they are throwing parties. I rented my villas to African Americans and all the ethnicities. They didn't care about my non-discrimination, but rather Jamal and Timmy and Daisy, who handled my case, removed me. They cancelled future guests who have to scurry to find last-minute accommodations. Work. Airbnb is a company that has lost its way. They never bothered to look at the facts of the case. They also never bothered to connect that those listings are run through AB LLC, not directly correlated with me in this account. See that so his business is also an LLC, it's a company. So technically that means that it's got nothing to do with him. Yeah, he's a shareholder of a company, but the company is a different person. They said they picture matches and must be me. So anyway, the gist is this: Dtravel is ready to take the crown. Well, not really. Dtravel is not ready to take the crown. Dtravel is ready to pounce. Okay, and this is the beginning and not the end. I've experienced this for a long time. This kind of Airbnb behavior. The best way to deal with Airbnb is to keep your head under the radar and try and hope that they don't come after you. Yeah, because when they do, there's literally nothing that can be done. I think Dtravel is the future, and I think Dtravel has the potential to become the future decentralized Airbnb, but much more. And I think if anyone is getting involved now, I hope that you get involved, because hopefully in the future we can have a conversation, you and me, whoever's listening to me, and we can all celebrate. We can all celebrate when TRVL is trading at 20 whatever dollars or whatever. Can you imagine the amount of parties I'll be invited to? I can't wait. So definitely continue picking up TRVL. Don't fade on this token, and let's see how far we take this. It's a movement that we're building effectively. Yeah. Looking at the monthly time frame, and we've come back all the way to fill this monthly candle. I mean, I don't know 100%, but you'd like to think that if it holds here, that it would go up. You'd like to think that. Fill this monthly. This is the monthly expansion candle. There's no real gaps in the rest of these candles. There's probably some gaps down here, but on the monthly time frame, a lot of the gaps have been filled. It's hard to see gaps, but when you look at these wicks and you see how they're filling before they go up, this came down and filled the gap. All the gaps have really been filled. The only gaps that I can see are probably here, and probably there's probably a little gap there as well. There's some gaps much lower down, whereas if you look at the way the wicks have come down, they've basically cleared up all the gaps. If anything, there's gaps to the upside. Yeah, there's definitely gaps here as the price came down, and as you go up, actually the wick cleared most of those gaps. There's gaps all the way up the top there. There's lots of gaps here, all the way up to the top. There's gaps. That wick cleared most of the gaps. There's a little bit of a gap here. There's some gaps there. Otherwise, most of the gaps have been cleared. Okay, so the only gaps that I can see are some there, here, up there, and there's a couple down here. I'm not foreseeing the price to come down to 2.7 cents. So possibly those gaps will always remain in the market. All right, and let's just see what happens. Do we get does the price come all the way to the golden pocket? I think if it did, that would be like a gift. Honestly, that would be a gift. And it's hard to know if and when that will happen. It's hard to know. That would really require people to sell their TRVL, and because the price can only go down with market selling. I don't know, can't tell. Right. When you're looking at the TRVL Bitcoin chart, I haven't looked at it in a while. What's really annoying is that I can't see the ETH chart anymore. For some reason, it's been removed. So it's really quite frustrating. But when you look at the Bitcoin chart, again, we have to see what happens here. I do feel like it's possible that we're going to test the lows one more time. I don't know how that's going to form. You see, we've already lost the value area low. Okay. So that's telling me that all eyes are on Bitcoin. Yeah. Right now, all attention is on Bitcoin. Doesn't mean that you should sell. These are the opportunities for buying. Yeah. So whereas in the past, I would say that the point of control was a good place to buy. Right now, you see we're losing the value area low. If people are looking for safety and they don't want to rush into this and they just want to feel safe, then the best way to do this would be to either let the price get back into the value area low above the point of control. If you see that, then that will be safe. You're buying in higher, but that will be safe because you're buying into strength. Otherwise, you know, take the low. Yeah, take the low, get back above the low. The problem with taking the low is you're putting in a lower low and the price could find resistance for continuation. And so if you don't take the low, then it's a higher low, but we won't know if we take the low or not. If we go to the low, whether we take it or not. If the price forms a higher low, it'd be hard to take that because you would be at that getting so close to low, you would be expecting to take it. Excuse me. So it would still be easier to wait for the price to come back into the value area. It would still be easier to do that. Excuse me. I really want us to see us, you know, like I'm just looking at the Bitcoin chart. We put in a golden cross here. We're looking to put in a death cross here. Yeah. I'm not crazy fond about that, to be honest with you. So, and it's a tricky one. On the 3-day chart, we still, you know, we weren't able to put in a golden. So clearly what you can see is that on the Bitcoin chart, the downtrend there's still a downtrend, and we still haven't been able to turn it. Whereas with against USDT, we're turning it. Against Bitcoin, we haven't been able to. And possibly that's because Bitcoin is strong, you know, Bitcoin is strong, USD is weak. And so naturally against Bitcoin is there's a harder work to be done. But I think eventually we will, you know, I think ETH has been weak. And so naturally when people are contemplating alt season, they're looking at ETH. And when you see ETH falling like there's no tomorrow, then, you know, the rest of altcoins react. And when you see Bitcoin dominance going up like there's going to the moon, effectively, look at that, it's heading to the moon. Not really, it's going into my area of resistance, and then naturally that's going to have a negative impact on the rest of the Bitcoin pairs. Yeah, so it's not the market, it's just the pairs. Look at all the pairs when you compare them to Bitcoin, the ones that I have on my list at least, you can see that they're quite weak. Solana is, like, honestly, Solana is the strongest one. You can't really complain. So I think in all cases, everyone should have a little bit of Solana because that's your hedge. Look, Solana is so robust. It just keeps on bouncing back. Every time there's a dip, Solana just bounces back. But every other kind of BTC pair that I'm looking at has also been bleeding like there's no tomorrow. I think, as I said before, I think in the scheme of things, TRVL seems to be quite strong, but none of these tokens have withstanded the impact of Bitcoin being strong. Yeah, see, like even DOT, I'm quite bullish on DOT. DOT is even struggling against Bitcoin. FLR, look, even FLR is showing weakness. Yeah, and in the whole multi-year consolidation range, it's been quite flat. Yeah, so GRT, I mean, GRT is quite strong, but in the context of everything, it's still relatively weak. Actually, GRT is looking quite strong against Bitcoin right now. It's gone flat and it's looking quite strong. Litecoin, again, look at that weakness. Can't get it back. You can't reclaim levels. You're losing levels. It's weakness. And so I wouldn't like go, oh my god, what's happening? TRVL, we're going to zero, all that kind of jargon. I think what's happening now is that we've had a multi-year downtrend and we have to fix that. We're trying to fix that. Okay, so getting back into the value area low would be, if people are just hesitating and they're waiting, well then just wait. That's fine. Just wait for the price to get back into the value area low, and then, you know, I'll welcome your pump. There's also an outer trend line here that you can't ignore, and now that it's formed, it's a lot easier to see. Like, it's hard to see these trend lines when they're not formed. Do you take this first pivot? I usually like to take the outer pivots, to be honest with you, the outer, just the kind of the final line. And so naturally, this is the weekly time frame. Naturally, what I'm thinking is, whatever happens, we have to break that line, flip it into support for continuation. Whatever happens, that's going to be the next kind of signal for us to know that TRVL wants to really start to push to higher prices. Yeah. And so in the meantime, we're looking at consolidation, accumulation. We're still looking at that kind of behavior. I'm just having a look at